Hello, good day, and welcome to this session of the Windows 10 operating system tutorials. In this session, we are going to talk about graphical user interface. Graphical user interface. When we say graphical user interface, as the name suggests, it is an interface which provides you with graphics that helps you to easily navigate within specific applications. So, for example, I have opened Microsoft PowerPoint application, and all these symbols and objects and text that I'm seeing here, which helps me to navigate within this application. Helps me to do whatever that I want to do to this application, is what we mean by graphical user interface. So it is a pictorial, icons that helps you to navigate within documents. Now, we have other interfaces which needs some kind of in-depth knowledge before you can work with, such as the command line user interface. That one you need to write a long, let me say, codes that will tell the computer to do what you want the computer to do. So this is the most common and most user-friendly interface among all user interface. Now, before the computer becomes operational to be used, or before you even see the graphical user interface, you need to start the computer on. And that is what we mean by booting. Booting is the initial process of starting up a computer, as we all learned during our stays at the basics and the junior high schools. Now, we have two types of booting. We have cold booting and warm booting. When we say cold booting, it is starting the computer from a complete powered off state. What do we mean by complete powered off state? That is when the computer is not working. You've turned it off. There is no current flowing through the computer. It is not working. It is completely powered off. That is when you are turning the computer on from that state. That is when we say we are doing what? Cold booting. So back at the primary and the junior high school, they used to tell us that starting the computer for the first time. Yes, so let's say you work with the computer today and you turn it off. Tomorrow morning you get up and you want to use the computer again, you need to turn it on. So that is what we mean by cold booting. Now, when we say warm booting, which is the second type of booting, it is restarting the computer without fully powering it off. Let's say you've done some updates on your phone and the phone tells you to restart it. You get it? At that stage, the phone is already on and you are just what? Turning it off and automatically turning the phone on back. You get it? So that is what we mean by warm booting. And there are instances where we do warm booting. That is after some installation of some softwares, after making some updates, when your computer is freezing or you feel like the machine is overheating, you can choose to do what we call the warm booting, which is also restarting the computer. There are a series of things you need to consider or do before you even start to press the power button to turn the computer on. One of these things is to ensure that all necessary peripherals, when we say peripherals, we are talking about the input and output devices such as the keyboard, the mouse, and the monitor. You need to make sure that all these things are connected securely or well connected before you turn the machine on. The second point is check that the power cable is plugged in and the power source is turned on. So you need to make sure that your power cable, the cable that brings power from your sockets to the computer, is well connected so that it can facilitate the flow of power from your socket to the computer. The third point also says remove all external storage devices. Why is it necessary that when you are turning the computer on, and you have something like a pen drive or any storage device connected to the computer, you need to take it off. Why? The reason is simple. There are some pen drives when you have some, let's say you have a bootable pen drive, which is a pen drive that you've installed Windows on or any operating system on that pen drive. If you don't take it off or you don't eject it whilst turning the computer on, there are some sequence of process that the computer goes through before it boots. It might take its operating system from the pen drive instead of taking it from the computer's RAM or the hard disk. So in that case, you might tend to lose the data that you're having on your computer, because you might see that there's a problem with the computer and it wants you to install new Windows. So it is advisable to take every pen drive or any storage device connected to the computer when you are turning it on. Now let's look at the steps for turning the computer on or making or doing cold booting. Now let's see these icons over here. This icon, the one that I'm blinking the cursor on. Almost every electronic gadget have either this or this icon on it, and this is called the power button. The power button. So before you can turn the computer on, you need to make sure you have located any of these two buttons. You are not going to get both buttons on the same machine. You are going to get either this or that on the machine. So when you get one of these buttons, the first step is press the power button on the monitor. So you turn the monitor on first, so that if there is any problem with the CPU or the system unit, it will be displayed on the monitor for you to actually know what is going on. After you've turned on the monitor, then you press the power button on the system unit. After doing that, you need to wait for the BIOS and the UEFI firmware initialization. The BIOS, the full meaning for BIOS is Basic Input and Output Systems, and the UEFI is what? Unified Extensible Firmware Interface. They help to check the connected, input and output devices that is connected to the computer, whether they are working perfectly. So you need to wait for all these actions to be done by the computer itself. Sometimes there are some desktop that will ask you to press the F1 for the Windows to continue. So when there is an instruction on the monitor, you need to read it and click on or press on any required button to initialize or finish the booting process. Now let's look at the Windows desktop. After turning on the computer, the first thing that you're going to see is the Windows desktop. And when we say the desktop, it is the primary graphical user interface where users interact with the computer. Or it is the electronic working space on the screen where the user begins to issue commands into the computer. So let's look at how the Windows desktop looks like. So this is the Windows desktop. You might have changed the wallpaper of your computer, and therefore you are not going to get this same interface or this same image here. But as soon as the computer boots, the first interface that you see is the Windows desktop. Now let's look at the sessions or the parts of the Windows desktop. Now when we come to this side, you see that there is some little or small picture objects here. These picture objects are shortcut of applications, and the general term that we use for them is called icons. So icons are pictorial shortcut representation of applications on the computer. Now when you come to the button, the left button of the screen, you see that there is something like a square being divided into 4. Now this is called the start button. We have the search box where you can use to search for files and folders and even settings on the computer. We have the task view. This gives you an overview of recent or application that you've opened, and virtual desktop. We are going to dive into all these things one by one. Now, this black line that you see down here is called the task bar. The task bar. Now, any application that you open will have its icon represented here. So when you open any application, it will open its icon here to show that you are performing an act. And the particular folder that you are working in will have some background lights like this one that I'm hovering the mouse pointer on, because this is the current application that I have opened. Now, you see these icons on the taskbar, they are called quick launch buttons. Quick launch buttons. Quick launch buttons. Now we come to the far end of the screen. We have the notification area. The notification area. There you can have the date and time, the notification box or the message box, the volume, whether you are connected to an internet, and your battery health or battery status. Now, this free space on the computer, or this free space here, is called the working screen area. The working screen area. Now, this sign here, that looks like the same thing that I'm hovering over the screen, is called the mouse pointer, not the cursor. This is the mouse pointer. Yes. So let's look at my interface. So you see, when you come here, this is my interface. This is the working area. These are icons. This is the taskbar, and the icons we see here are the quick launch buttons. I have the notification area, the start button, the task view. So every computer have these features, provided it is Windows 10 operating system that is installed on it, or Windows operating system installed on it. Now let's continue. So these are the things that I already talked about, the features of the Windows 10 desktop or the Windows desktop and their functions. Now, there is also an appropriate way of turning off the computer. Most of the time when we visit labs and various places and we are using PC, the moment the time is up, we just get up, press the switch to turn everything off. That is not the proper way. And when you keep doing that, you might one day get your computer spoiled. Yes. So let's look at the proper way of turning off the computer. Now, the process is simple. You click on the start button. You select the power icon. You choose shut down from the options menu. Then you confirm the action. So let's do it practically. So now it says we should click on the start button. So this is the start button as we look earlier on. So you click on it and the start menu will open. Now you see that we have the power icon. So I click on the power icon, and out of the options that comes, let's say I want to shut the computer down. I just put the pointer on it and I click on it, and the computer will shut down or turn off for me. If I want to restart it, I put it on restart and I click on it and it will restart for me. Now let's look at the difference between sleep and hibernation. They are quite similar, but the difference is sleep retain more power than the hibernate retain more power than the sleep. When you put the computer to sleep, it doesn't really save energy, but when you put it on hibernate, it saves a lot of energy for you. So when you are getting off your computer for a break, it is advisable you turn it, you put it to hibernate, knowing that you might come back soon for it. Yes. Now also there is a shortcut key. If you don't want to go through the process of clicking the start button, clicking on the power icon, and then choosing from this menu, there is also a shortcut which is the Alt plus F4. So I put Now the L4 that I'm talking about is there are some keys, function keys on the keyboard. When you check the upper part of the keyboard, that is the first row. We have what we call the F1 up to F12. We call them the function keys. So you press and hold the Alt. The Alt is ALT on the keyboard. So you locate that key, then you press and hold, then you add the F4 to it, and you see that it will give you the option to turn the computer off, like what you're seeing. So you get this menu when you press the Alt plus the F4 key, then you select whether you want to shut it down, hibernate, sleep, or restart it. Then you click on what? OK, or you hit on enter, and the computer will go off for you. For the purpose of learning, I can turn it off and turn it on again. Now, you see when we click the start button, a menu appears, and that menu is called the start menu. The start menu. The start menu has various sessions. As you can see, we have this session, these sessions, and this session. So let's look at from this part, from the upper part here down here is called the left pan or the left panel. From this side to this side downwards is called the left panel, and it gives you most used or recent applications and also alphabetically ordered applications folders on the computer. Yes. Now when we come to this side, these things are called tiles. They are called tiles, and it can be found at the right panel. The right panel. This area is called the right panel. Where the tiles can be found is called the right panel. Now when you come to this side, we have the command menu. The command menu. There you can find the power, the settings, the file explorer, documents. You can add more features to this side. Now you have the account menu, the account menu or the account button. This will give you the opportunity to know the number of users on this computer and who is currently using the computer, and you can also add a user. I've already made a video on that, on how to add more users to the computer, so that if you want to give your computer to someone to use it, the person might not interfere with the files that you have. Yes, so you can go and watch that one if you want to do that. So as I said, here is the left panel. Here is the left panel, and we have the menu commands. We have the frequently used applications, the account button, and the right panel containing tiles. Yes, so that is it. Now these are the features as I explained. The left panel provides access to power, options, settings, and apps, and so many more. Now let's look at how to properly hold the mouse. How to properly hold the mouse. When you give the mouse to some people and you see the way they hold it, it is really quite funny. So the proper way of holding the mouse is you put the mouse on the table, then you relax your fingers or your palm on it. Now let's look at something. Whether you are a lefty or a righty, any of the hands that you are putting on the computer, you need to make sure that the thumb is placed at the left side of the mouse. Now the thumb should be at the left side of the mouse. Then you put the index finger, that is the finger next to the thumb, on the left button or the primary button. Yes. Then you put the middle finger on the right button, ensuring that the scroll heel or the scroll heel is in between the index finger and the middle finger. After that, the two other fingers that is next to the middle fingers, should be at the right side, just to help you at get a firm grip of the mouse. Make sure your palm falls on the body like this hand is doing. And let's look at the mouse and its features. We have the left button, we have the scroll wheel or the roll button, we have the right button and the body. This is the cable. Yes, there are other mouse which do not have cables. They are called wireless mouse. This is a wired mouse. Now let's look at the mouse and its features, and we end this video. We have the left button. Remember, anytime you hear click, we are talking about the left button, but we don't say left click. No, we just say click, and it means you are referring to the left button. The left button is the primary button for selecting and interacting with objects. So if you want to select something, let's say I want to click on this icon to select something, I just use the left button. It will help me to select what I want to select. So let's say I come to the desktop and I want to select this application or this file. I just put the pointer on it and I right click once. You see that it has been selected. Yes, so that is the function of the left button. The right button, secondary button for accessing context menus and additional options. So the right button, what it does is, let's say I want to refresh this computer. What I do is I just put the pointer at a free space, then I right click. This menu that you see here is a context menu. It helps you to get additional features. So this particular file, if I right click on it, it will give me more features of how to interact with this particular file here. So you see, it has given me more or additional features to work with. Yes, so that is the function of the right button. Now you have the scroll wheel. It allows vertical scrolling through documents and web pages. So for example, this work that I have opened, if I want to scroll through them, I can use the scroll wheel, and you see, as I am scrolling over it, it is moving. It is moving. So that is the function of the scroll wheel. That is the function of the scroll wheel. Now we have the body. The body, what the body does is provide grip and stability while moving the mouse. It just help you to move the mouse, get hold of the mouse properly to be able to move it around. Now there are some actions that you can perform using the mouse. That is click. And as I said earlier, a click means pressing the left mouse button once. The right click, pressing the right mouse button once. Double click, quickly press the left mouse button twice. Triple click, rapidly press the left mouse button 3 times. Then press and drag. You press and hold the left mouse button while moving the mouse. So these are some of the functions of the mouse. We have the scroll wheel, the middle click, the hover, and then click and hold. So these are the actions that the mouse can perform. So in all, the mouse can perform 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9 good actions. So thank you for watching this session of the Windows 10 Windows tutorial. Thank you. Don't forget to like, subscribe to this channel.